What's going on, everybody? This Afro think tank. White man says Europeans have never been right, ever in life. I was like, God damn! This white guy got something against white folk, right? But I detect no lies about what it is that he's saying, right? And white woman, right, gives a history on Europe and how we got here. Listen, I'm here to bring you real information. After you watch my video, you're going to be smarter than you were before you watched my video because you will, in fact, learn something. That's the whole point. I don't waste any time or effort making content that doesn't teach you at least one thing in my video, right? And the truth is, Europeans have to come to a reckoning to how they have been behaving ever since they lost all of their melanin and I guess all of their mind along with it, right? But, you know, there's still time. They can get it back. But right now, you have to acknowledge the things that you've done. You got to acknowledge the history. You got to acknowledge that Europeans have been making a lot of decisions that are anti-life, anti-spirituality, anti-good, anti-health, anti-everything, anti-nature, right? So once you recognize that you've been anti-everything and you've been making all the wrong decisions and you've been pissing everybody off and you've been destroying everything, once you acknowledge that, you got to make a change. You got to do something different. You got to turn it around. You got to change your ways. You got to become a different person. Be a better version of yourself. And that's what Europeans have to do now. All the different kinds of Europeans, because there's all kind of different type of, you know, jars of mayonnaise out there. Different, slightly different flavors. All right? You know, but the ones that know, y'all need to come to a reckoning. This is what my people have done. This is what we do culturally. This is things that we should be able to change about our culture. This is how we can improve. Let's build upon these parts of our culture that people like, that are acceptable, that are peaceful, that are spiritual, that advance our people, that advance all people. Those are the things we should be gearing towards and heading towards instead of all the negative. Don't double down on the ignorance. Don't double down on the hate, on the visceral. All that will do will accelerate your demise. Accelerate, keyword, your. Meaning, the worst, even though y'all have done all the worst things on the planet, the people that y'all done it to are still around, still surviving. And your arch enemy, black folks, we ain't going nowhere. We baby as kids, we don't die, we multiply. There is nothing you can do at all. Give up, stop, quit. No point of being jealous, just live with it. All right? Can't beat them, join them. You might as well join us because you can't beat us. Nothing you do. All right? At this point, you should realize there's nothing you can do. All right? And we ain't even tried. Imagine if we tried. Okay? So, yeah. They're going to tell us the truth, and we're going to listen to it, and I love bringing you information from the horse's mouth. That way you can't say it's just me making shit up, all right? Clearly, right, these people have been doing some introspecting, right? And they're trying to get their people to be different and do different things by exposing the things that they have done culturally as a group of people throughout history and what they're still doing now and pretending like it never happened, all right? Anyway, y'all tell me what y'all think in the comment section. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out.
Europeans have never been right. Not once. Not on time. Not in space. Not in spirit. They charted maps upside down, labeled continents after themselves, and called that discovery. They mistook plunder for progress, guessed wrong about everything from spices to skull shapes, and then built museums to display their errors like trophies. Their calendars don't align with the cosmos. Their clocks don't align with the crops. Their borders don't align with the people who live there. They confused longitude with ownership, and latitude with latitude to lie. They declared war on tomatoes, thought potatoes were poisonous, and believed bathing was a sin. They sent priests to fix astronomers, banned drums but permitted whips, and burned the libraries while misquoting the ashes. Their theories of race were pseudoscience. Their theories of governance were just aristocratic tantrums wrapped in parchment. Their economic revolutions were just new ways to rename theft. Their version of civilization was the exact moment everything collapsed. They were wrong about gods, wrong about germs, wrong about gender, wrong about gold, wrong about who built the pyramids, wrong about who belonged on what land, wrong about what makes a language a language. They were wrong when they said the sun revolved around them, and they're still wrong now that they think culture does. You were never supposed to check their footnotes. You were never supposed to remember your own name. They weren't first. They weren't best. And they've never been right. Gope. Read all my sources and notes for this video at jorgethevanguard.com.
World War I started in 1914. Before World War I, European empires dominated global trade. So you had Britain, France, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the Ottoman Empire. The pound, the British pound, was the global reserve currency. It was backed by gold. The Rothschild banking dynasty had massive influence over Britain, France, and Germany, and they had been financing their industrial expansions and wars with each other. American finance was rising, JP Morgan, Rockefeller, but it was still secondary to the London banks. And the Ottoman Empire controlled oil, which was blocking the French and the British ambition. World War I destroyed European economies. Britain borrowed $4 billion from US banks, and that shifted financial power to Wall Street. The Treaty of Versailles intentionally crushed the German economy. This created conditions for the extremists to come later, ensuring that a second war was inevitable. Prescott Bush, George Bush's grandfather, was exposed for funding the Nazis. Wall Street and the City of London had invested in the German war industry. Henry Ford and IBM supplied the Nazis with material. US bankers funded both sides of the war. JP Morgan and Rockefeller sent loans to Britain and Germany. Wars need a lot of money, and so when governments don't have enough, they borrow it. Who funds war? Banks and industrial capitalists. They profit no matter who wins. The Federal Reserve was created in 1913, just before World War I. Very convenient timing for US war loans. The US knew the Japanese were planning to attack Pearl Harbor, but they let it happen. Declassified Pentagon documents prove this, because it gave Roosevelt an excuse to enter the war. The outcome of World War II was that the US became the world's dominant economy, so that the US dollar became the world's reserve currency. The IMF and the World Bank were created to serve American interests. And in 1945, the UN is created and global governance starts to take shape. A global governance structure that heavily favors American interests. At this point in history, the military-industrial complex becomes permanent. Endless war equals endless profits. The IMF and the World Bank claim that they're helping to develop countries, but what they actually do is trap nations in debt to the West, force privatization of government, cut social services in the name of austerity. All of these institutions allow the US to hold veto power. So if you don't have the US in agreement, it's not happening. That's not global governance, that's US hegemony. Countries have to adopt Western capitalism to receive aid from the World Bank or the IMF. The US uses its financial power to weaken its allies. Yes, its allies. It is a weapon against socialism, self-sufficiency, and any kind of non-Western economic growth. Neoliberalism has become default global policy. In 2018, the IMF gave $57 billion to Argentina, but the conditions, the strings that it attached to that loan led to 100% inflation in the Argentinian economy. Argentina couldn't pay this back, and so they're still stuck in a perpetual debt restructuring trap with the IMF, who are a mafia. This was strategically planned for total imperial dominance. The end of World War II was the creation of the New World Order, where US is the only dominant superpower and the Soviet Union is controlled opposition, because the military-industrial complex is permanent. The Cold War ensured ongoing arms spending. The evidence suggests that these conflicts were not purely organic. These were engineered crises that allowed financial elites to consolidate even more global power to themselves. We know financial institutions funded both sides. We know that post-war reconstructions centralized economic and political power to the US. And we know that these wars destroyed old power structures like the Ottoman Empire that were in the way of Western imperial ambition. The war expansions justify mass surveillance, permanent militarization, centralized governance. World War One led to the British and US takeover of the Middle East, and World War Two established the permanency of the military-industrial complex. It may still be quite controversial to say that these wars were started intentionally. I can have my own opinion on that one. But even if they weren't, which they were, but even if they weren't, they were opportunities to bring about shifts in global power. And the US do this all the time. It's called disaster capitalism. Naomi Klein wrote a book on it. I highly recommend you read.
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan.
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.